This is Alan Olsen, America Dreams, Keys to Life Success, where we talk about how we live life that you want to, what are your dreams, what do you want out of life, what defines success to you. Last summer, my family traveled to Helena, Montana, where I spent my childhood. While there, we stopped at a retirement home to visit a dear friend of mine. He served in the Boy Scouts of America as a scoutmaster during my teenage years, teaching me values and principles, hard work as a youth. And I have to say that one of my fondest memories was the time that he took us out camping. It was 32 degrees below zero. And the scoutmaster, we went out there and we had, all the scouts had tents except the scoutmaster. And us scouts said, well, what's he going to do? And his scoutmaster pulls out, he was 65 years old at the time, pulls out a cot, puts a sleeping bag on top of the cot, takes out a survival blanket, puts it on top, and slept out in the middle of a blizzard. And us scouts, we looked at him, we were like, is he alive? Did he survive the night there? And so we, the next morning we got up and we found out that he was, he was a tough guy. And so anyways, when we went up there, he actually was preparing to die. The daughter I grew up with, and she said that he hadn't responded in 2 weeks, and so I told her I'd like to go see him, and she says that's fine, but he probably won't know who you are. So he and I walked in the room, and I say, "Hey Ben, how you doing?" Guy pops up out of bed. He says, "Alan!" And wow. I don't know if it's out of fear, like I was coming back to haunt him, but we visited for a short period of time, and he fell back in his bed and passed away the next day.
Wow!
But but for me growing up, there was a great memory of and an inspiration of character, an example that he set to me in my life. So. Nadine, what organizations are out there that you'd recommend for individuals to become involved in?
All right. Well, Alan, just like you'd mentioned, Boy Scouts. I think that really helps. Boy Scouts and Girl Scout programs, helping with character. There's a Rotary clubs, humanitarian organizations. Right here in Fremont, we have the Brown Road homeless shelter that you can volunteer in. Hospitals need volunteers. Schools, public schools need a great wealth of volunteers. There's also church organizations. You'll find a great amount of work that needs to be done and a great way to network, especially with the unemployment that's going on. You'll meet people.
Unemployment. Let's get on to that topic. Man, we have a lot of economic hardships out there. In fact, today we're going to have a special guest coming in with us, Al Hulvey, where we're going to talk about this whole unemployment issue. This is a top of the list for the two presidential candidates for next year. One, President Obama has been throwing back the jobs bill. and as he throws back the job bill, he also throws in a lot of new tax proposals to go with it.
Well, I think it's more of a stimulus bill. I think the people across the nation have had a lot of stimulus, but there's not been a lot of result from the stimulus spending. So that there is a little bit of disappointment, I would say.
Well, it's interesting. I saw something, the disapproval rating is about 55% for what the president has currently done. It's not an easy job.
No, it isn't. We
are really in a tough economy and a tough way out. This we're currently in a recession in this market.
Alan, you mentioned your Scoutmaster played an influential role in your life. Do you see the need for the youth today to have influential role models? Will that help as they face this tough economy, as they graduate and go out into this tough economy?
It's an interesting question there. It's kind of like the frog in the pot. These kids really don't know anything different. We've seen a different generation, a generation of change, but these kids have grown up with what they see.
Right.
And the role models and the challenges and difficulties that they're facing there. And, I think it's the responsibility of the older generation to teach that younger generation. But here's where we're at. It's said that 60% of the jobs 5 years from now will be in technologies not even invented today.
Wow.
At the same period of time, in the next 15-year span, we're going to see 5 people retiring with only 1 person in that job force being replaced. And that's just typically the effect of the baby boomer generation.
Exactly.
So when we're looking at the future, we're really talking about a dramatic change. The federal budget right now, the biggest component of the budget in which we are failing to balance is Medicare and Social Security.
Right.
And you imagine that with the retirement of the workforce and people...
the baby boomers needing Medicare.
Yeah, you're losing funding sources out there.
Right.
And so these things will play into, how are the kids going to get health care? What's the world going to be like? It's certainly going to be a different society.
Well, and as you said, teaching these children to serve others and not about me and what's in it for me, but rather to help others. Things like organizations like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, even in high school, where they're required to do so many service hours in order to graduate, I think help them to get a certain work ethic and reward and value.
Oh, I love that, Nadine. That's really, it hits to the heart of the issue and the foundation of when everything is said and done. Isn't it about the relationships?
Yes, and important for the baby boomer generation to teach these children the value of service and giving back to community, even when things are tough, because things are going to get tougher.
There's one of my friends, he turned me on to a book called Halftime. And it basically said that during the first half of your life, you acquire things. The second half should be spent giving things away. And it's just not money. It's also your time. Giving back to that generation and spending time with them to help them, work on things that they need to in their life. So I love the thought process there.
Right. So. Yeah. I think with the job and the economy and the job market, with the baby boomers retiring, America's going to be facing a very tough, even bigger, maybe perhaps even a depression, being in real estate and watching all of the repossessions, all of the short sales, and the forecast that this is not the end. They're still coming. What are these baby boomers going to do when they've invested in their home and it's time for retirement and they need to sell that home to pay for their retirement, and home values are depleting? This could really blossom into something very, very distressing.
It's interesting. Home values depleting, people losing their jobs, the healthcare costs spiraling out of control, federal deficit, budget's not being balanced. All things to look at and consider. And that's why today we're going to have a special guest on our program, Al Hulvey, who runs the Career Action Network. And Al has a lot of interesting and insightful ideas about how you transition, if you lost your job, how you transition back into the workforce. It's a real need right now.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing from Al, because I know that a lot of people, I believe that California, they say, has 9 or 10% unemployment. However, there's those that have just dropped out of the system, and they say that California might be one of the worst, nearing 20% unemployment or more. So I'm sure whatever Al can offer will be great help to our listeners.
I agree. Well, we'll look forward to having Al come up with us shortly. This is Alan Olsen with the America Dreams, Keys to Life Success, where we talk about how to live the life that you want to, what are your dreams, what do you want out of life, and what defines success. Stay tuned with us. We'll have Al Hulvey of the Career Action Network join us shortly.